It's a scary thing when somebody breaks into your home and you lose your sense of security.
Yeah, it's one thing to come home and realize someone's forced themselves into your house. It's another thing to be there when an intruder comes in and you're held against your will.
WBOC's Tony Hurst has the story of one woman's nightmare. Take a look at this.
You're in your home and you think you're safe until you become the victim of a home invasion. And you realize there's nothing you can do about it.
Well, at first, unbelief. And then after the gun was like registered in my head that it was actually a gun, shock. Seeing the other people walking in the door, then fear.
But if you do have the means to protect yourself, can you? Or better yet, should you?
Not only do I think you have a right to protect yourself and protect your family, but the law says you have a duty and a responsibility to protect yourself and protect your family.
This woman found out what it was like to lose her sense of security, and she lived to tell about it.
We don't get to pick, we don't get to choose when we go, but I was just like, no, this can't be happening right now. And just fear, and then sadness and scared. I mean, you just run through the whole gamut. Just unbelief, fear, sadness, anger, the unfairness of it. Just, it's not fair.
Hear more of this woman's terrifying story and learn how you can prevent becoming a victim tonight on WBOC News at 10 on Fox 21.
Wow, and Tony joins us now to talk a little bit more about his story. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Now, this particular case was a random attack, but the sheriff says that's not always the case.
Well, you know, Sheriff Lewis says that a lot of times people know exactly who it is that, you know, comes into their home and robs them. So, you know, he gave me an instance of one gentleman who, he had a former employee from where he worked. He knew exactly how much money he had, exactly where he was going. So he came up on him one night and just robbed him, came into his house, took all the money that he had and just came in there and took everything. So, you know, it's kind of hard to know that someone most of the time knows that you're actually doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are some tips for people to keep themselves a little more safe.
Well, absolutely. You know, well, number one, well, you kind of saw there in the story, if you do have a means to protect yourself, let's say you have a gun in your house, you have the right to actually shoot that person that comes to your house. Now, you may run into some trouble if they're trying to get away from you. There may be a legal issue there, but, you know, that's one of the options that you do have. Now, if you don't have the means, then what you need to do is, you know, Lewis says, go into a room, lock the door, call the authorities, and stay on the phone with them until they get there.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's also good to know that a lot of times people will pose as maintenance or repair guys and come to your door and knock on your door and say, well, you know, you have a, you know, appointment right now, and you know, if you know you don't have that, then that's something to be careful with, you know, because you don't want somebody to come to your house and take all your stuff.
And you were talking about Sheriff Mike Lewis saying that, you know, you can protect yourself with a gun, but the law is different in different states. He's speaking about Maryland, correct?
Yes, he is speaking
Right.
about Maryland. That's specific to Maryland. You know, he's a big advocate for protecting your home. He said so strongly, you have a right and a duty to actually do this.
Wow, how about that? Well, if you'd like to see the rest of the story and for other ways that you can keep yourself safe, be sure to tune in to Tony's home invasion story. That's going to be tonight on WBOC News at 10 on Fox 21. Tony, thanks for coming in.
Oh, no
you.
problem.
Appreciate
Glad to be here.
Well, up next on Delmarva Life, we're in the kitchen with Out of the Fire in Easton, whooping up a dish that's going to work as a fancy side or will suit vegetarians just fine.
Delmarva Life at its best here on Delmarva.